Good evening, everyone. In accordance with Section 5 of the Open Public Meetings Act, be advised that a notice of this meeting was made by posting on the bulletin board in Town Hall and forwarded to the officially designated newspapers that this meeting would take place at the Milburn Education Center at 7 p.m. on October 7, 2025. Meeting details and the draft agenda were also posted on our website. Please stand to salute the
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
May I have a roll call vote, please?
Deputy Mayor Cohen,
Here.
Mr. Foxborough,
Here.
Mr. Sacramandi,
Here.
Mr. Stoller,
Present.
Mayor Romano.
Here. May I have a motion to approve the agenda?
Motion.
May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
May I have a motion to approve the September 16th, 2025 Township Committee minutes?
Motion.
May I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
May I have a motion to approve the September 16th, 2025 Special Township Committee minutes?
So moved.
May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, what are we doing? The logo. So I'm going to ask Committeeman Stoller to present the 250 celebration
Oh,
of
look at
Milburn
you.
Club.
Right, go. Don't come on. Yeah, go. Forward. All right, good evening, everyone. Tonight, we're thrilled to recognize a talented young member of our community as Milburn gears up for the 250th anniversary of the United States. Our celebration committee sought a logo blending our local history with the national milestone, and we invited the community to submit designs. The winner is Milburn High School, Jonah Dovdovany. Involved in Milburn 250 committee. He's a student athlete on the varsity basketball team and aspiring digital artist. Jonah's design elegantly weaves in Milburn's iconic mill, the Rahway River, and our Revolutionary War roots, accented by the American flag to honor our national story. Yeah, American 1776, 2026. Please join me in congratulating Jonah.
Yes.
Proclamation, I'm going to read it fairly quickly. You can study it at home. Whereas the Township of Milburn stands at the threshold of an extraordinary milestone, preparing to celebrate the 250th anniversary of the United States and our community's proud role in that history. And whereas the Milburn Township 250th anniversary of the United States Celebration Committee invited the community to create a logo that would symbolize our heritage, highlighting the town's deep historical roots and enduring legacy of independence shaped by its contributions to the American Revolution. And whereas Jonah Dovdovany, a talented junior at Milburn High School, answered that call with a design that blends tradition and creativity, capturing Milburn's story while connecting it to the enduring ideals of freedom and unity. And whereas Jonah's logo featured the iconic mill and subtle patriotic elements will now serve as the official symbol of Milburn 250, representing our community across all events, publications, celebrations leading up to July 4th, 2026. Now, be it further resolved that Milburn Township Committee, on behalf of the Milburn Township's 250th anniversary of the United States Celebration Committee and Milburn Township residents, does proudly recognize and commend Jonah for his exceptional artistic achievement and meaningful contribution to the historic commemoration. His work will inspire civic pride and remind all who see it of Milburn's heritage and enduring connection to the American story. Big round of applause. Great.
Thank you.
And we all have to show up to watch Chase Ruther and Jonah shoot hoops.
Committeeman Sacramandi, you are scheduled to present the proclamation for Fire Week.
Whereas the town, Whereas the Township of Milburn, New Jersey is committed to ensuring the safety and security of all those living in and visiting our township, and whereas to promote this year's FPW campaign, Charging to Fire Safety, lithium-ion batteries in your home, it highlights how important it is to buy, charge, and recycle lithium-ion batteries safely. Whereas most of the electronics we use in our homes every day, smartphones, tablets, power and lawn tools, laptops, e-cigarettes, headphones, and toys, to name just a few, are powered by lithium-ion batteries. In fact, most everything that is rechargeable uses this type of battery. If not used correctly or if damaged, lithium-ion batteries can overheat, start a fire, or even explode. To reduce these risks, look around your home. It is important to know which devices are powered by them, and whereas buy only listed products. When buying a product that uses a lithium-ion battery, take time to research it. Look for a stamp from a nationally recognized testing lab on the packaging and product, which means that it meets important safety standards. And whereas charge devices safely, always use the cables that came with the product to charge it. Follow the instructions from the manufacturer. If you need a new charger, buy one from the manufacturer or the one that the manufacturer has approved. Charge your device on a hard surface. Don't charge it under a pillow, on a bed, or on a couch. This can cause a fire. Don't overcharge your device. Plug it or remove the battery when it's fully charged. Whereas recycle batteries responsibly. Don't throw lithium-ion batteries in the trash or regular recycling bins because they could catch fire. Recycling your device or battery at a safe battery recycling location is the best way to dispose of them. Visit calltorecycle.org to find a recycling spot near you. Whereas Milburn's first responders are dedicated to reducing the occurrence of lithium-ion fires and injuries through prevention and protection education. And now, therefore, be it resolved that the Milburn Township Committee, on behalf of the residents, does hereby proclaim October 5th through 11th, 2025 as Fire Prevention Week throughout the township and encourages all residents to be aware of their devices. Follow the buy, charge, and recycle safe approach and support this year's FPW theme, Charge into Fire Safety.
Thank you. The open house, is this weekend or next week? This week. Okay, reports. Committee installer, you want to start? Would you like to start?
Or. Yeah. Okay, to open, I would just like to do a statement on the anniversary of October 7th, which was a travesty. We mourn the lives lost and pray for the safe return of all hostages still held alive and dead. My personal belief is to stand firmly against terrorism in all of its forms. My sympathy and support goes to the victims and their families. While I recognize the complexities in the region, I want to make it clear that there's no justification for acts of terror, and we should never support or reward those who committed acts of terror. Now I'll jump into reports. Recreation Committee, we had a great, successful tour to Milburn with over 300 participants registered. Our annual Part 3 golf tournament was held this past weekend and went very well. Fall programs are going strong with playoffs starting later this month. Winter registration is still open. Includes basketball, wrestling, cheer, dance. Ski club needs volunteers. That's a great volunteer position, by the way. Special Improvement District Halloween, save the date for the 3rd annual Halloween celebration in downtown Milburn from 2:30 to 6:30. I mentioned this on my message 2 weeks ago. Check out all the fun stuff going on, from free face painting to costume photos, trick-or-treating, and local businesses. And then s'more shopping at the Winter Villages, save that date. It's the Winter Villages was rebranded S'more Shopping, and that will be on December 6th, Saturday, and December 13th at Down Hall Plaza from 3 to 7. The BOE, school's back in session. Everybody, please slow down and drive responsibly. Joint facilities, I have a discussion on that later tonight in our old business, new business portion, so I'll go into that. Mount Valley Emergency Center is looking to hire 911 public safety telecommunication officers. For anyone who's interested, you can visit MVECC webpage or their Facebook page for details. From a work standpoint, we just continue to work with Summit for the potential new organizational structure and the home for the dispatch, and remain committed to working a solution out that continues to provide a high level of service to our residents. Flood mitigation, no real updates. And then the open space tax fund, we had our third meeting. We're finishing up the bylaws, reviewing certain criteria, including the empirical matrix to qualify potential projects. And we should be sharing that hopefully in the near future. Affordable housing, I'm going to defer to council. And then on a personal note, I attended the Millburn Police Benevolent Association Local 34 2025 golf outing at Cedar Hill Country Club last week. It was fantastic. It was sold out. The sponsorships were sold out. The weather held out. It was fantastic. For the record, Chief Gilfitter hit a ball right into my throw. He almost hit me. So,
Can you say four?
I don't know. I couldn't hear. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor Coe?
Yeah. I don't have much for this period. All I will say is that the project to look at flooding along the Glenwood Van Winkle Brook by the Arboretum made some progress. There was a meeting where they came up with some high-level alternatives, but more importantly, the next step is to get a better estimate for each of the alternatives that they came up with, to estimate how much capacity of rainwater it would hold, as well as their associated costs. So we're expecting that within the next couple of weeks.
Thank you. Committeeman Secretary.
Sure, so like Committeeman Stoller, I have a brief remark to make first. Today marks 2 years since the October 7th attacks that took over 1,200 lives and forever changed countless others. On this solemn day, I stand in solidarity with our Jewish neighbors who continue to mourn those lost and hope for the safe return of the hostages still held captive. I recognize the fear and pain that this day brings to many in our community, and I reaffirm my unwavering support for Israel's right to exist in a peaceful and secure manner. I condemn anti-Semitism in all of its forms and remain committed to ensuring our township is a place where all residents feel safe and supported. Now for my reports. The Environmental Commission is proud to announce the creation of a student environmental group. The EC recognizes that crucial community benefits result from fostering relationships between adults and young people that focus on educating, encouraging, and guiding young people to identify, pursue, and meet goals for the greater good. Students in grades 8 through 12 who have shown a commitment to advancing environmental sustainability and climate resiliency practices are encouraged to apply to join the student environmental group, where they will be guided and educated to continue accomplishing meaningful initiatives, including school and/or community education projects and programs. Public and private school students who are Millburn residents will be able to apply online as soon as the forms are set up on the EC's website. More information will be available soon, and students may contact the EC at millburnec.9@gmail.com now to express their interest in taking part in the student environmental group. That's it for my reports.
Thank you. Committeeman Foxwell?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. On the Historic Preservation Commission, you'll see this in new business as well. They're working on, where they have a proposal where they're asking the Township Committee to approve a research on the railroad bridges that go through town. 6 or 7, I think there's 6 of them together, the New Jersey Transit bridges. So that's it. It'll be discussed a little in new business, and then a presentation, I think, at the next TC meeting from the HPC on it. Thank you.
Mr. Cameron?
Thank you, Mayor. Just an update on our third round fair share housing and our ongoing dispute related to 9 Main Street. On September 26th, the township filed this notice of appeal, giving them their final compliance order, which is what we were waiting for. We're appealing approximately 25 orders from the trial court. It's a lot of orders. Some of them are redundant. Some of the orders were granting relief on one and denying relief on the other, but we're appealing 25 orders. I can just briefly summarize, and I'm just reading from kind of what we filed, but it says what we filed, we were supposed to give a summary to the appellate division, and once the appellate division approves our filing, It'll give dates for briefing and things like that, but the plaintiff, the Township of Milburn, is seeking a remand to a non-conflicted judge to consider whether a 75-unit exclusionary housing project may be relocated to an alternate superior site other than the current site, which is the township's current operating DPW site and is highly contaminated. Specifically, the township is appealing from its final judgment in its round 3 affordable housing matter. In that regard, the township is appealing several orders from the New Jersey Superior Court which pertain to the project being forced to be built at the DPW and not at a more advantageous location. Such orders being appealed include, and among other, the fairness order approving the settlement agreement and relative to the specific direction by the special master not to disclose the terms of the settlement agreement to the public prior to voting. The township's objecting is, parenthetically, the township is objecting to the settlement agreement only to the extent as it relates to the project being located at the DPW site. And then the next is orders deeming the RDA approved and executed by the township. Orders deeming the payment in lieu of tax or the pilot agreement approved and executed by the township. Orders denying the township's motion for recusal due to a clear bias being shown against the township by the court. Orders denying the township's second motion for recusal relative to the court's admission of predetermining the case. In addition, the township is appealing the court's failure to approve the superior alternative sites to be developed for the project, and the court allowing the developer, RPM, to participate in the process of evaluating alternate sites. Allowing RPM to participate was against the order of the court and the words within the settlement agreement. Additionally, the township is appealing all orders which granted fees to RPM and Fair Share Housing Center related to these orders being appealed here. So we think it's a pretty comprehensive appeal. We're still waiting to be docketed by the appellate division, and I will continue to provide the public updates from that appellate action as they're provided. Other than that, I have no further report unless there's any questions from the committee.
Oh, yes, thank you. Thank you, Mayor. A few reports. First and foremost, just want to bring to the public's attention that PSE&G will be doing necessary work on Essex Street. And this is a main replacement due to, I think, an ongoing leak. That work is anticipated to start Monday after next week. So there will be some activity, in particular in front of the Andy Says property that's under construction, but they are also then going to have to march down Essex Street, I believe in the left-hand lane, for about a month's time to fix this leak and replace this gas main. And then there will also be some services that need to be attached at some point. But we're going to get that information out. We're just waiting on PSE&G to give us the details and the copy for that. But I just wanted everybody to be aware to anticipate that it will be a lane closure on Essex Street as a result of that work. And that's from the intersection of Milburn and Essex to the intersection of Main and Essex. And they're anticipating about, I think, 200 feet a day if all goes well. So it will take a little bit of time. I just wanted to, I think at this point, just clear the air as quickly as possible as it relates to the July 16th block party. At previous meetings and previous correspondence, it has been indicated that the township did not make the county aware. I just want the public to know that the township's traffic bureau sent an email to the county on July 16th, letting them know that's 10 days prior to the event, letting them know that the event would be taking place. We heard nothing at that point from the county, proceeded with the event. The county did send us an email afterward after receiving complaints from parties in that area. Sent us an email stating that they just need a heads up when these things do take place. I responded to them, letting them know that we did let them know, and that we, we'll continue to give them a heads up as we have when these things do occur. Just wanted, again, there was no permit indicated that was needed. There was just a simple, please give us a heads up, which I just indicated we had. On, as it relates to Chatham Road and pedestrian safety, there will be a machine delivered tomorrow, by the developer, that will be moving the, walkway to the south side of, Chatham Road. This work is anticipated to take place on Thursday, so there will be a closure, briefly, or I don't know how long it's actually gonna take, but, hopefully it's briefly, after 9 a.m. on Thursday, to move that walkway. I just want to be clear, with the public that there will most likely be a time that that walkway has to move back to the other side of the street, when there's utility work being done in the right of way to connect to that building. And I just want, everybody to understand that and anticipate that. I don't know when that is. I don't know the construction schedule or when they're anticipating connecting utilities, but certainly, if I have that lead time, I will announce that at a township committee meeting. But it looks like that is gonna be resolved this week. Just a reminder to residents about the leaf collection schedule. It's getting to be about that time, so we're just asking that you please follow the leaf collection schedule. Put leaves out in the street when indicated on that schedule. DPW will be around to pick them up as close as possible to as indicated on that schedule. Some things do cause delays in that, generally weather or a quick fall of the leaves. But for the most part, we've been able to keep on schedule. The DPW has done a good job in clearing the leaves and staying on schedule. I think last year we were a little bit behind, but also don't just leave leaves in the street. Make sure you're putting them out there on your days. It helps everything from safety to the cleanup efforts, to understand where we are in the process, all of that. And so much like to my next point, certainly we will continue to remind residents as best we can about if they're not following the schedule. That kind of segues into the next point, which is we are still having residents put out trash bags without a trash can. We have put out several notices on social media, several notices on the Millburn Message, as well as the website. The ordinance prohibits any trash being put in a bag only on the curb, and you need to have it in a can. For those that have been red tagged multiple times, they will receive a notice of violation and a summons as a result of those infractions. And again, I think there should be a monthly reminder about putting wipes in sewer systems. These are not good for our systems. As many of you may know, we have several pump stations that help force our sewer systems up over the hill and then are gravity fed down to Elizabeth, where our sewage is treated. The more that wipes are placed in the systems, the more repairs we are required to do, the more issues we have with those pump stations. While they may say flushable, they are not. They do not dissolve. So just please keep that in mind. We've put out several notices on social media and the Millburn Message, as well as the township's website, indicating as such. So we just appreciate everybody's cooperation with that. That's all my reports.
Thank you.
Real quick, I think you forgot to indicate, there is a stop work order in effect now for the Silverman project, correct?
There is. However, if they're working with us, keep in mind, when they're stopped work, that's more time it takes for them to finish the project. So if they're working with us, we did issue a stop work order today. However, I think we've gotten the response that we hoped for, and we will work with them to get this done, and we will work with them to keep the job moving as well.
Yeah, there's nothing like a stop work order to get their attention, so feel free to use it.
Okay, the flood mitigation public session is October 29th. I think it's at
Tuesday the 20th.
Tuesday at Bauer, right?
Correct.
Sorry about that.
That's all right. That was the last sentence.
Okay, at the pedestrian safety advisory board last week, we had someone from Avenues in Motion at our meeting that is developing a guidebook with suggestions for proper e-scooter, e-bike usage, and some proposed ordinance language in it. So we're hoping to see that in a couple of weeks so that we can put something out you know, on a township level, just to add to the laws or lack of, or that's already in place. Just also the community police unit has been, in the elementary schools, or not, in the high schools and the middle schools, attending assemblies, talking to kids about proper riding and riding with traffic and et cetera. They've been talking to the kids, they've been, meeting the kids at the middle school, at the high school in the morning, observing them, you know, complimenting them when they do something, when they're riding appropriately, wearing a helmet, and if they're not, telling them that they're not. And also, there is a possibility, I think where we're going is, if a police officer observes a rider that is breaking the law, they will probably, depending on the severity, or not wearing a helmet or doing something they're not supposed to be doing, accompanying that child home and giving their parent a violation. So just, you know, if you have children that own them, just make sure that you talk to them and that they follow the law and they're careful driving it. We also talked about an increase in poor driving habits, especially around our schools, especially during pickup, during drop off. So just ask everybody to please just slow down and pay attention of pedestrians, of other cars in the roadway. That. I also want to congratulate Ziv Denev Shah, 2025 graduate of Pingree School, was recently the recipient of the 2025 U.S. Presidential Scholars Program. The program recognizes students and honors some of the most distinguished graduating high school seniors in the country. 161 students are named each year as presidential scholars. I spoke to Ziv last week to congratulate him and connected him with Governor Murphy, who also called him last week to congratulate him. And also congratulations to Pingree senior and township resident Ray Fang on her incredible performance at the 13th Junior Ryder Cup. She scored the final point to secure Team USA's victory over Team Europe, and an incredible accomplishment and a proud moment for our community. When she took the shot, she didn't even realize it was the last point that she needed until she saw her teammates cheering. So I wanted to congratulate her. And senior citizen that I did not report on last week, or last meeting, just a couple of things. Just want to say a thank you to the American Legion that hosted most of the summer programs over the summer, since they couldn't use Bauer because of the children's camps. A CARFIT program was also held over the summer, where they had, it's developed by the AARP and the American Occupational Therapy Association. And what they did was they were at Giro, and they had seniors that came to them, and they made sure that they were properly fitted in the driver's seat, that their seats were adjusted the right way, that their mirrors were adjusted the right way. So that was a good experience. Friday Friends started back up this fall. And then finally, the results of the senior services survey results. This is a questionnaire that some of the group put together that Jamie, the senior citizen coordinator, and the members of the group pushed out to the community. They were able to fill it out online, by paper in town hall, at the library, etc. So this, I believe it's on the township website right now. I think it's already up. But some of the big issues that came out of it was there is a strong demand for affordable senior housing in our community. They also looked for more social and cultural programs, technology support, which we already have thanks to the students at the Milburn High School. And of course, they commented on pedestrian safety, handicap accessibility, parking. Some also were looking for free Meals on Wheels delivery, and a dedicated senior center, which hopefully we'll have in a couple of years. And that's all I have. Public comment.
What, before you jump there, I'd be remiss in just saying to the two young girls who were apparently murdered in Cranford. We all need to understand that bullying is real. It happens in a lot of our towns, et cetera, and we just want to keep them in our prayers and families.
Thank you. When invited to speak to offer your comments, please come to the lectern and clearly state your name and whether you are a Millburn resident and/or property or business owner. Please do not provide your full address, seeing our meetings are recorded and readily available to the public. To help facilitate an orderly meeting and to permit all to be heard, speakers shall limit their comments to 1 3-minute session. You will be prompted when there's 30 seconds remaining. A reminder that this is not a time for dialogue or to debate a matter, and this time during our business meeting for the public to offer their comments. I will now open public.
Thomas Mara, 30-year resident of Frankfurt Hills. I'd like to congratulate John on his winning design for the 250th anniversary. I know it's not here. I don't know if there's any plan to offer that as a banner that people can put in front of their homes. I certainly would be a purchaser of that if it's available, either through the town or a civic organization. I hope we can, capitalize on that a little bit and promote that by offering banners in perhaps some different sizes and formats. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, everyone. Richard Seibert, the Township resident. I want to thank Ben and Frank for acknowledging today, October 7th, being a day that will never be forgot by mainly the Jewish community, I guess. I was surprised to see that no one else on the dais mentioned it, except those two. Anyway, I don't know much about the affordable housing laws and rules, but I do know how to make money, and where money can be made should be made. So we were going to sell the dump to RPM for $1, so he could build 75 units that we would backstop for 50 or 60 million, that he would borrow the money or get it granted by the state of New Jersey. I don't understand why we don't become the landlord. Why aren't we the landlord? This town, we have enough money in this town to be the landlord, and we don't have to hire RPM to build it. There's plenty of builders out there that will build it. Is it a law that we have to hire a builder that the Fair Share Housing picks to build on our land? Because the other two sites that are being talked about, we own. You do own. Why don't we build it? Why aren't we the landlord? Why don't we have the revenue that comes into our town and goes into our coffers to save taxpayers in this town money? I just don't get it. Why would we let somebody else build in this town on our property? Look, if we have to build, let's build. But why don't we own it? Maybe I'm crazy.
Thank you. Excuse me, thank you.
Tricia Wolf Galley. I am a Brookside Drive resident right across the street from the Paper Mill Lighthouse expansion. I am here to report that we are damaged living through the Paper Mill expansion. We daily are exposed to noise and construction debris to an appalling extent. My eyes actually burn. Township construction rules were not followed in the reconstruction of parking lot across the street from the paper mill. These are the rules, and I could go through them with you, but they didn't do it. Our houses and property are saturated with brown sticky asphalt containing soil and soot and whatever the cars dripped into the asphalt. We request remediation for ourselves and relief. We request a site director to communicate with us. And I would imagine that would be from the township. And the third point is, we request that a copy of the township ordinance be given to the contractors, wherever they may be in the following months or whatever that it will take to complete this project, so that they know to put a fence and put a backing on it and to wet down their piles of dirt and to not unload in the bricks in front of our houses. And the rules are all here, and that's all I have to say.
Thank you.
I'm Sorrel Reeve. And I also live next door to Patty and our houses, there aren't that many, and they're very old, and sometimes people look at them, houses with disdain, I think, because they're old, they're not like the bigger houses in the area. Anyway, they've been here, my house through Rucor, and their house is 1881, and their house, if I remember correctly, was 1850 something to 80. There was a fire in town hall records that makes them 1915 if you look at the real estate sales. Anyway, what I have here, I'm not a lawyer, but I read, and there is 3-8 is the construction rules in the ECOR, municipal guidelines or rules. And I'm just going to go through a few for the few minutes I have. I have a lot more to say. I was glad, but I'm just going to go through a few of them. There's 3.3-8.1. There's a purpose regulation of hours of construction, and there's definitions. You could look it up; it's all there. But one of the points is that dust, filth, control required fencing. And as Patty stated, the paper mill parking lot, what they did is they may have had the idea for a while, but they decided to work on it without telling us. And their house is one house away from a big construction, and right across the street from simultaneously where they're doing the construction of the paper mill. So you have two major digging of all this stuff, and it's not a big street. If people have even been down there were mountains of debris, big trucks going by with everything on them and idling in front of our houses. In fact, there are legal holidays. It's supposed to start at 8. They start at 7 one time. I spoke with the director because there was a truck idling with flashing lights before 7. And another time on the parking lot side, I don't
You
have
have 30
any more time.
seconds, go ahead.
Okay, so the weekday is supposed to be 8 o'clock. They've been coming much earlier. Sundays and legal holidays. There was a truck that almost picked up a Caterpillar or whatever you call them, bulldozer thing, and had to pick it up from the township site, the construction site of the parking lot. And he comes, I just have to finish it. He comes and he puts it on the truck, the flatbed, and it almost falls off. We have a video, it almost falls off onto my property. So if the township doesn't want all this debris to build houses on a lot that's toxic, they should also take a good look at what's going on at the paper mill and how they don't care at
Thank
all.
you. I will.
Good evening, my name is Jeffrey Bell. I live in the poet section. As my custom, I sent a heads up memo regarding the packet. And traditionally, you don't receive any response by anyone from the TC regarding the agenda. This time, I'm gonna try to talk about two items on the consent agenda. The first is you're now approving closed executive session minutes for this year. The law requires you to do it within a reasonable time. Today is October 7th, we're now approving closed executive session minutes from January on. That should be done within a meeting or two meetings. As to the bill list, I think the public is entitled to know how much money Township Committee, their lawyers have been spent trying to smear and gaslight. Earlier this evening, we heard a report from our municipal attorney as to the issues that we were appealing. Who was the first person that questioned in July 30th, 2021, the procedural due process validity of the settlement? All I know is I'm the evil one, I have horns growing out of my head, I'm crazy. But you filed a notice of appeal adopting all the legal arguments that I have been raising since July 30th, 2021. I think I'm entitled to a public apology from you. As to the bill list, I gave you a list of certain payments. Like Bear Properties, how much money have you spent in that? Bear Properties 2. We don't even have a piece of paper entered by the judge. Someone should be asking, why hasn't the judge entered any orders when she dismissed the case supposedly orally on August 19th, 45 days? That's a message coming from the court. And the reason I say that, because we attended last night's Board of Education meeting. There are two policies and regulations being approved about paying attorney's fees and monitoring. They said the duty of a public fiduciary is to minimize legal expenses. It seems that this township committee historically, rather than minimizing, you rather litigate and increase costs. I think we should have an evaluation. As to certain capital expenditures, it seems that we're buying a new fire engine. It says 93. I don't know if that's the model or that's the year of the engine. I know we've always been assessing money for it. As to the paper mill project, we're paying almost $250,000 for steel. Where did we get the money from? To my knowledge, we have not issued any bond anticipation notes for that project. Where did we get the money? I said that.
Thank you.
Of course, thank you.
Good evening, Leah Cruz, Township resident. I wasn't gonna get up and speak tonight, and I decided I would after hearing these two residents who live on Brookside Drive. I'm really appalled that this is continued. They've been here before. I think one time I was here. I don't know how many other times they've been here. But I wonder, since they were first here, if anybody on the TC or Alex has gone to visit the site and seen what is going on. I think if this was happening in your neighborhoods, it would have been taken care of immediately. I don't understand why things are allowed to happen. I know sometimes at these meetings you say, oh, we're letting people know about putting leaves in the street or this or that, but nothing is ever enforced. I mean, I think we need more enforcement. The speeding, the sidewalk thing. I mean, somebody needs to go out there and take care of this immediately. Like tomorrow, somebody should be there. There's no reason. So that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, Judy Christian, Township resident. I just wanted to send out a friendly reminder that could maybe be included in the mayor's message. When I've been running, especially up in Short Hills, I see many people on streets like Long Hill and Hartshorn who are either running or walking, not facing traffic. I don't know when this started, but it's, very dangerous. And just as someone who's run around town for many years, maybe we could put out a reminder. Most alarming is when I see, you assume they might be au pairs, walking in streets in Short Hills that don't have sidewalks, not facing traffic. So maybe just a friendly reminder in the mayor's message, especially since the time change is going to be soon. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello. Good afternoon or good evening. Venkat Bala, resident and of Melbourne Township for last 4 years. The reason for me to come here and attend the township meeting is to bring to their attention that there was a hit and run accident of a middle school student. And there is a precarious situation of construction that is taking place on the library side. The students of the Melbourne Middle School travel across the street to go and play in the playground. So they are being sandwiched between the library renovation project as well as the paper mill playhouse construction project. So it would be in the best interest of the community and the township if there are active duty construction personnel who would be able to regulate the traffic flow as the students have to go in between classes to attend their physical education, as well as if they have to go and spend time at the library. So I'm trying to bring this to your attention in order of public safety. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Jamie Strudow, lifelong Melbourne Short Hills resident. Wanted to bring up a few points that that were addressed this evening. We're obviously experiencing darker fall as we enter deeper into fall, and many residents have expressed concerns. We talked about scooters tonight, but also walkers. And is there a plan for increased lighting? We heard about the stop order with the Woodland Road project, improvements in pedestrian safety there. Will there be improvements in lighting there? And also looking at lighting around all of our train stations as people are starting to drive, we heard, recklessly and not conscious of the lighting. Number two, I was on DeMayo Road, just off of Melbourne Avenue earlier today, and there were massive potholes the size of craters. I understand it's a private road, but there are, lots of members of the public that do use that road. There are businesses there as well. Just wonder if there's might be an opportunity to look at a few of these areas in particular, even if they are private roads, to do an inventory of some of the potholes. It is a safety concern that was brought to my attention. And also, just a reminder to everyone, I think Committeeman Stoller mentioned what happened in Cranford, which is very disturbing. And I think we all need to be good neighbors and need to be conscious of how, we treat one another, in particular on the roads. I was crossing the street the other day in downtown Melbourne, went speeding past me, right in a crosswalk, almost nailed me. There's gonna be a closure on Essex Street, of a whole lane of traffic, and that property already has a disturbed pedestrian walkway, I think Annie says property. Will there be the necessary precautions in place to ensure that that pedestrian walkway is accessible? Those are some points I want to bring up tonight. Great evening, get home safe.
Thank you.
Good evening, Diane Egler, lifetime resident. I want to talk about the SDL portal, how it really works. It's been maybe 4 years when Dave Morrow, who was my independent running mate, had put in the SDL portal to have a crosswalk at Ivy and Ridgewood. And it is finally getting put in. So that's amazing. That's a real safety issue for South Mountain. Another safety issue for South Mountain is the temporary plastic barriers at Whittingham in front of the post office and the UPS store. I sent Alex and Christine a picture. I didn't get it out to all of you. There was a Tesla parked in front of the barrier on the post office side, trunk open. She was in UPS and I'm waiting to cross over to Oscar's. So I see the cars, zipping by. I don't know how long her car was there for, and then she comes strutting out of the UPS store, closes her trunk and leaves. And I looked at her, I didn't say anything, I'm thinking like, are you kidding? Like, why are you parked in the middle of Milburn Avenue? So I think those plastic barriers really have to be moved. I've said this before. I'm not a fan of those big bump outs but I think small, safely sized bump outs would work on that corner to not only give a pedestrian a rise up to be seen, but if a car would have the nerve to park in front of a bump out, I mean, we've lost all hope in this town. My daughter was getting her hair done at Dolce. She saw a man get hit in the crosswalk because he was parking with the light. And her and the guy doing her hair were like, oh my God, that woman just hit that man in the crosswalk who has the light. Let's see. Okay, and the other thing I want to say, and stop me if it's inappropriate, but I'm gonna go ahead. I want to commend Annette and Michael on their performance at the debate. You really showed that you know what you've talked about. 3 years experience makes a difference. And you demonstrated your knowledge and your experience, and you both have my support and my vote. Good luck. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Strike that, please.
You've done it for us. Good evening. Excuse me.
Good evening, Jerry Kung, Short Hills resident. I'm here to address something fundamental, truthfulness and how our government works. Romano and Cohen recently claimed that they did not remove Zoom in January 2023, and that they did not advance the dump housing project. Both claims are false. First, the Zoom issue. Immediately after Romano and Cohen took office, Zoom participation was eliminated with no vote. When I tried publishing this, Romano had it censored. Elise, our local reporter, told me, Annette told me that Maggie Miggins was the one who didn't want Zoom. But that's not how our government works. There's 5 seats on the TC. 3 votes make a majority. Tara Krupis supported keeping Zoom. If Romano and Cohen truly supported it, that's 3 votes, a majority. Zoom was restored eventually after public outcry. But why was it removed in the first place? Because Romano and Cohen worked with Miggins and Benayak to remove it. They had 4 votes, gave the order, then hid when residents demanded answers. Now the dump housing project. Romano and Cohen were complicit with Miggins and Benayak in advancing the dump project in 2023. In April 2023, there was a final compliance hearing in Superior Court. Tara publicly opposed the dump project. Yet Romano and Cohen, along with Miggins and Benayak, instructed township professionals to enter the order formally designating RPM Development as the developer, giving them legal standing to sue our township. Romano and Cohen are now hiding behind, we didn't take a public vote. That's exactly the problem. That's not how government works when you have the majority. Romano, Cohen, Miggins, and Benayak had 4 votes out of 5. They instructed staff to proceed, and staff followed. Romano and Cohen cite this technicality, claiming they never voted, even though they were the deciding voices in directing the outcome. They're using the structure of government to rewrite history and escape accountability for giving a for-profit developer that doesn't even own land in town legal standing to sue us. I'm running for Charter Study Commission to examine balance of power and accountability. The incumbents are hiding from the record by claiming we didn't vote, even though they clearly directed the outcome. This is a failure of transparency and accountability. Romano and Cohen, you removed Zoom access. You gave RPM standing to sue us. You're deceiving voters and hiding behind Mr. Cantor and Mr. McDonald, who simply followed your direction. Now it makes perfect sense why you tried to table the Charter Study Commission ordinance. You want business as usual. You want to continue hiding behind unaccountability. You don't want residents examining how power actually works, because sunlight would expose what you're actually doing. The Charter Study Commission is needed to examine these accountability gaps. This pattern, removing public access, advancing projects through back channels, blaming others, rewriting history, shows why our government desperately needs the structural scrutiny and substantive reform that so terrifies you. Thank you.
Wow. I'm gonna be like, last place after that epic speech. Okay, Christine Best, Milburn Township. I just wanna thank you for talking about the October 7th. My nephew was actually in a bomb shelter crying on the phone, hacked and like sardines with a lot of crying women. And it was really quite horrifying to actually hear bombing going off in the background and talking to somebody in the middle of the night in Israel. Obviously I'm not Jewish, but I have so many family members that are, and you know, it's a very important day to remember, so thank you for bringing that up. I wanted to, well, I have a lot of things to talk about, but I thought I'd just pop over to the charter study because that was on my list after Jerry talked about it. And one of the things that I noticed, I actually go on the Milburn Township Facebook page or Instagram page where you guys put your notices up, and very few people actually go there and see anything, so it's not really a great marketing tool at this point. But I noticed you guys have been posting like notices on like what the charter study is, and it's really not clearly explained and not being promoted. And I highly recommend that you promote it out there so people understand it, like, and you put it in basic speak, because it's literally so convoluted how it was described on the township's you know, social media pages. And I think it's really important that you have signs up, because I think a lot of people are gonna phone it in and not vote properly. So I feel that we should be really promoting it so people understand it, just like you're promoting on the township websites to vote early, which is something that I think is kind of a little bit off-putting, because I think people really need to hear all the debates before they vote. We shouldn't be pressuring people to vote early, et cetera. So, because we need to remind them that they have till November 4th to vote, and they should hear all the people's opinions in the parties. So that's just a personal opinion of mine. And then I want to just make a comment. I was going to talk about this on the e-vehicles. Something to think about. As a surfer and a skater, I don't use, they have e-surfboards actually and e-foils, and I use a hand foil. If you're not an experienced skateboarder or an experienced cyclist or an experienced rider of a hoverboard, and you're just like kind of just done it a couple times and then you add 30 miles per hour to something like that, it's very, very dangerous. So you might want to include some other vehicles just besides the bikes, just a thought. Because I've just seen kids like blowing down my street at 30 miles an hour, and I was like, I don't even drive my car that fast on the street, which is kind of funny. Like, they're sort of dangerous, you know. At least when I surf, if I've got a surfer coming at me, I can dive in the water, but you kind of don't have big, you know, abilities. I wanted to also talk, or actually this is a question to Alex or anybody who knows, can people park their vehicles on their property and use it as a parking lot on the grass? Like,
Thank you.
is that?
Yeah, you're done. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Just remember that at the end. Thank you so much.
Anyone else? Anyone online?
We have one hand raised.
Good evening. You're muted.
Hi, sorry about that. I'm Tracy Levine, a 25+ year resident of the Lower Wyoming section. Over the past few years, I've been increasingly disappointed by the deteriorating condition of several vacant properties in town. More than 5 years post-COVID, these eyesores continue to sit untouched, and it's well past the time for the township to take meaningful action. That's why I was very encouraged to see that tonight's agenda includes the introduction of an ordinance to address these properties in several important ways. Thank you all for prioritizing this issue. I'm also glad to hear that code enforcement staff has recently been increased. I truly hope this leads to real accountability. Property owners must be held responsible for meeting the appearance and maintenance standards that are in the property maintenance code, such as resolving overgrown landscaping, broken windows, cracked paint, and other signs of long-term neglect. I served on the board of Explore Milburn Short Hills, Milburn Special Improvement District, for more than 4 years. During that time, there was significant progress in reducing the commercial vacancies, stabilizing below the industry average. Therefore, the small number of abandoned properties stand out in a very troublesome way. Despite the demand for real estate in our town, these owners have not maintained or invested in their properties, putting a negative pall on the community. Two of the worst offenders at opposite ends of town One right near me on my home is the long abandoned gas station at Vauxhall Road and Milburn Avenue. And at the other end, the former Danny Rust Opticians building, which is hideously boarded up at Glenwood and Milburn Avenues. These sites are not just unattractive, they're the first impression visitors get of Milburn from two key gateways to our town. Long vacant buildings like the former Footers properties in the heart of downtown also hurt the overall vibrancy of the community. While one of these buildings is now thankfully occupied and one is in progress, the other remains a blight. Longer term, I also encourage the township to consider whether any of these abandoned sites could be repurposed for alternative uses that would improve flood mitigation or public safety. On one more topic, I'd appreciate an update from the TC and from our Essex County representative on the status of long-promised improvements to the intersection at Vauxhall Road and Milburn Avenue. This was one of 12 county intersections identified back in 2020 for upgrades to improve traffic and safety. As of a May 2024 county info session, completion was projected for Q4 2025, but there's been no visible progress. So thank you for all your time and attention and effort, and for continuing to work on making Milburn safer, more attractive, and more welcoming.
Thank you.
Jean Pasternak, resident. This is a quote. I am a lifelong resident of Milburn as well as a longtime registered Democrat. I have served Milburn Township in volunteer positions for over 25 years, including 15 years on the MSH Volunteer First Aid Squad. Over the last 6 years, I have represented township residents as mayor and now deputy mayor on the township committee. Until recent local events forced me to choose between the party and my conscience, I had no intention of leaving the local Milburn Short Hills Democratic Party. I first noted a problem in party politics when I was expected to hire firms that were promoted by the County Democratic Party to perform township work. I was forced to choose between obedience to the party and maintaining my integrity and commitment to serving the residents of Milburn Short Hills. This personal challenge escalated when it became clear that current Mayor Maggie Miggins, as well as my opponents in the upcoming November election, Annette Romano and Michael Cohen, support the current New Jersey state mandate to greatly escalate the creation of low-income housing, regardless of its threat to our town's infrastructure and small town feel. The township's Democratic Committee, chaired by Romano, forced me off the ticket for my opposition to the party machine's wishes. This was written by Diane Eglow in September of 2022.
Thank you. Anyone else? I will now close public comment. Close public comment. Committee in the second committee, would you like to begin?
No, someone else can go first.
I'll go first. I can go first. I'm never at the end. I need this opportunity. I see a couple of things. First of all, if I see something as a theme in the public comments, it's all about enforcement. And that's been a historic issue. I'm glad to hear that we've hired more people, but of course they can't be everywhere. But, you know, we hear this time after time. I'm sorry to hear that the people from the paper mill are back because they were here at the last meeting and made very similar complaints, and apparently nothing has been done. It is critical that or that the problem, I shouldn't say nothing has been done, but the problem still exists. And so it's imperative that we get somebody over there and you know, get that situation handled. Similarly, you know, as a great idea from Ms. Christian about putting out and reminding people that when they're walking or whatever, that they should be walking facing traffic. But again, another thing with enforcement is, and public safety, is the comment made with the middle school and the library. I mean, we have, and the last that I heard, it was about 2.5 people. I don't know a town this size, I don't know how that stacks up to other towns, but obviously 2 people can't be everywhere. But when we hear of a problem, it needs to be, you know, it needs to be acted on. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. This has come up numerous times. The quote that from former Mayor Eglow, maybe that was true when she was on the board. In the 3 years that I have been here, no one has ever told me who to hire. It may have happened in the past, it may not have, I don't know, I wasn't here. You know, but it doesn't happen now, and it hasn't happened in the 3 years that I've been here. Lastly, of course, I was saddened and deeply affected by what happened on October 7th. I take the the section where we do reports, as it used to say, that when the mayor reads the script for that, this is the time where people are supposed to talk about the committees that they serve on. It is not the time to make a public comment about how you feel about what's going on in the world, so I didn't choose to do that. That does not mean that I feel any lack of sympathy for what happened in the Middle East. I just didn't think that was the appropriate place to voice that. Thank you.
Sure. Listen, I ran for this office almost begrudgingly, and we won by 2/3 of the vote. I put in hours upon hours. I don't know how many hours you put in, but when it's my turn to speak, I'm gonna talk about what really affects me, my family, my heart. And October 7th was very, very challenging. It still is, especially with my kids. So I'll address that piece right there, Michael. Being thematic, the first thing I did after last meeting is I called some folks at the paper mill and said, I don't care if you have to go over there and knock on the doors and find out what the hell's going on and make sure that this is getting fixed. So I'll talk with Alex tomorrow and try to figure out, your home should not be damaged and inconvenienced at 7 a.m., 6 a.m., whatever it is on the holidays, et cetera. So I still commit to making sure that we follow up on that. We're talking a lot about this election season, and I just want us to try to rise above it. For the last 2 years being up here, we've been very good with professional, civil discourse, civil conversation, and improving the town. Taking credit, everyone seemed to want to take credit for everything. I don't care. As long as it's getting done, it's done for the benefits of all residents, whether it's a Democrat or Republican, independent, doesn't matter. We left all that behind when you get up here. So it's how do we serve the residents in the best format? Talking about what was done in the past on affordable housing, which was the underlying reason too that I ran, was it's either incompetence or culpability by prior township committees or both. I'm probably between Frank and myself and the rest of the township committee, we've seen exactly what's happened and transpired. It's not good. And we're gonna try to do everything we can to straighten it out, fix it, delay it, whatever the case may be. We all support affordable housing, but not done in a nonsensical manner that has tremendous financial burdens on our town and on our infrastructure, including our schools, which we'll get into a little later, new business. And Tracy Levine, thank you for bringing that up. Absolutely, when we talk about eyesores and we talk about the entries to our township, from both directions, we certainly have to do better to make that a more welcoming site. That's it, right?
Committee Cosmo?
Yes, Mayor, thank you. I too will chime in on October 7th. I did not mention that in the intro because it's reports, but I agree. It's a horrible thing that happened. I agree with the statements made by our code committee people. And I don't fault you then for making the comment at the get-go. Thank you.
Committee Secretary?
Sure. So, Mr. Seibert, I think you asked some very interesting questions, and I think you deserve to have some answers. So, yes, back prior to TC's signing that agreement, they could have concocted a different agreement. They probably could have worked something out where the town would continue to own the property. Maybe there could have been a ground lease. Since they agreed to backstop the whole thing, I think there's probably a lot of options that they could have pursued, but they didn't. I think it was a mix of incompetence, I know one of the TC members involved in that is in the audience right now. I think it was incompetence. I think it was ineptitude, and I think it was just irresponsibility. I also think that there may have been outside influence at work that led them down a specific path. And since Ben and I got here, we've been trying to do all we can to undo the sins of the past and the damage that prior TCs have caused this town. It's challenging. I wish that in 2023, when some of my colleagues sitting to my right came onto the TC, that they have made different decisions, better decisions, and tried to actually fight against things then, because we would have been in a much better position, from a legal perspective, had RPM not been officially made part of the lawsuit, that would have been one less set of filings that we would have had every time we go to court, right? We get opposition from Fair Share Housing, we get opposition from RPM. If you didn't have the developer in the mix, then that would make that a little bit easier. And we also could have potentially pursued other options. I also think other developers should have been looked at. We certainly, proposed 2 alternative sites. And we actually worked with a developer out of Princeton that had a good track record. The court unfortunately did not choose to allow us to pursue those. We're still pursuing the alternative sites, and I can't go into specific details right now, but it is something that we are still trying to work through. But it would have been a lot easier if people made better decisions prior to when Ben and I took office. Now, so all of you that came out to speak about the issues with the paper mill construction, I am disturbed and saddened that you guys had to come out here again. This is something we have already heard about, as Bruce mentioned. I would have felt that it would have been dealt with swiftly. But it seems that there are still ongoing issues. And yes, I guess code enforcement can't be everywhere, but considering the town owns the paper mill and the land, I think we should absolutely hold ourselves to a higher standard and make sure that anyone doing work on town property is adhering to all of the rules and regulations and take the necessary action if they're not. And I think this, goes into an overall theme that we've seen over the past few years, where there's just a lack of enforcement of a lot of our building codes and laws. I will talk with the business administrator offline about this. Maybe we need to reevaluate who we have doing the code enforcement. Maybe we need more code enforcement officials. Maybe it's a problem with leadership at the top. Maybe as a TC, we need to take a look at that. But it's clear that residents want accountability. I think we as a TC should hold people accountable, and if the people we have are not doing the right job, then we should reevaluate whether they're the ones that should be doing the job. I'm going to stay on top of this paper mill issue, as I know Mr. Stoller said he would as well. Let's see. Ms. Best, I think that's a good question. Can people park on their lawns? I don't know the answer to that. I'm hoping Mr. McDonald will be able to tell us. I certainly think it looks terrible when people use their front yards as parking lots. I don't see that all too often in this town, thankfully. But if it is allowed, then maybe that's something we should consider making an ordinance to prevent, because that just seems like a ridiculous thing to have people parking on their lawns. And if there's a specific instance where you've seen this, please let me know, and we'll get into that. Ms. Levine, thank you so much for your comments. I'm very glad that we have the ordinance on tonight to address adding, additional fees for these abandoned properties. I do think we have far too many abandoned and blighted properties in town. I know you mentioned the Flutter building. That's one in particular that I think we need to look at. But there's only so much we can do in terms of increasing the fees for these properties. So we've increased them, to the maximum that we can. We'll see if those have an effect. If they don't, then we may have to see what other mechanisms are available. to incentivize owners of those properties to do something with those properties. So I do appreciate you coming out and speaking about that. Specifically with regards to the gas station, I know that we have looked at potentially as whether it would make sense for the township to acquire that. I think there's concerns about contamination. I know that there is a parking lot we have in town, and we've been dealing with the fact that it was a former gas station and there was contamination, and we've been dealing with it and paying for it for over 20 years now. So, you know, it's not always in the best interest of a township to acquire, you know, those properties. It would be better if the owner of those properties clean them up and do something with them, and maybe we have to find other mechanisms to incentivize that. Let's see. For all of you that talked about pedestrian safety, I agree. It's a concern. It's something that we're taking very seriously. We're going to be doing some education programs with the schools and the students. And as you heard earlier tonight, we are going to be looking at some enforcement. So hopefully we'll see some improvement. I also would challenge the Pedestrian Safety Advisory Committee to really take a strong look at everything. I don't know, you know, what they've been doing the past few years. There's been some stuff here and there, but it seems like things are getting worse and not better. So maybe we need to reevaluate who's on that committee, what their mission is, and you know, hold them accountable. That's all I say.
I would just like to echo something that Mr. Sakamoto said. I do agree with the risks we have about perhaps purchasing that Exxon site, as he mentioned. We've been beaten over the head with another one. But I would like to see is that it's something that we should encourage the county to buy, because that fits in with a lot of what we've heard here about what do we get from the county. Well, that's something I'd like to get from the county. I'd like to see them get involved and maybe buy it instead of the town and deal with the remediation, because their pockets are a little deeper than ours. So that's something that I would like to work on and see if we can make that happen.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'd like to comment. Absolutely, Michael. I'm not sure if you've been paying attention, but we actually went over and met with the county, and that was one of my main asks. Since someone had gone over and met with the county, in over 10 years, and Annette was there, you can validate this. The ask was for them to pay for it. They said they could not pay for it, but they could certainly contribute to the redevelopment of that property. So we've already put that in motion, but that's what, to answer your question of why, that's why. Second, promotion of the Charter Commission, I don't think there's a more important thing to do in the next 28 days or so. You guys would know better how many days are left in this election, but really we should start promoting a little bit more. I just had turn off a lot of feedback. We had a meeting with a bunch of folks in my section in Wyoming to discuss what that Charter Commission is and why it's important. It has not been updated. There's not been a study in Milburn since 1972. A little history lesson, I was born in 1972, so a long time ago. I feel it every day on my knees. And it was actually modeled after a Township Act of 1899, which was soon abolished. So we have not updated our form of government, or even, and this isn't even to do that, this is to study what is the appropriate form of government in our town. So to get that message out, I think we should do some more education and really beat that home to get people educated about that, whether it's on the township website, banners. I know there's a whole link up there, people have to go look for it, et cetera. But maybe we could work with some of Happy Milburn or some of the social media platforms to do a quick little segment just to educate everybody about what they're gonna be seeing on the ballot.
Thank you.
I just want to respond.
Can we, you guys got like one turn and then we have to continue.
I was aware of your meeting, certainly that you had, but I haven't seen any results come of it, and maybe it's too soon, but you know, to say we have to buy it before they do anything with it is really not acceptable, because then we continue to have the liability for the contamination and the cleanup. And we know from the other property, that's now more than 20 years worth of payments.
Okay, we have to
You
stop.
can't fix income.
We have to stop.
Really.
Okay,
You
we have to stop. Okay, so yes, today is,
You can load it out.
excuse me. So yes, today is the second anniversary of October 7th. Reminded about it every day. I speak to members of the Jewish community all the time, and you know, we continue to pray for the release of the hostages and family members. As far as Vauxhall Road and Milburn Avenue, I did get an email tonight about that, but I didn't even get a chance to read it yet, but I will get back to Tracy about that. We were talking about the possibility of bump outs on Whittingham at some point, doing something to definitely shrink that road. And I know we've also been talking about continuing the angled parking after Milburn Deli. So these are all things that hopefully we'll get moving in the coming weeks, hopefully by the end of the year, just to shrink that down to 2 lanes. It's gonna slow traffic down, people are gonna complain, but that's it. At least we'll have a reduction in accidents, hopefully. And Brookside Drive, I'm gonna come by your house tomorrow morning before I go to work. Cause I'd like to see what's going on over there. Mr. Cantor.
Unless there's any questions, committee, I don't have any response to the public's comment.
Thank you. Mr. McDonald?
I'm not quite sure where to begin. But understand that so look, there's a degree of, I guess, and maybe I shouldn't say anything, but there's a degree of frustration that I have given the fact that certainly people bring up valid concerns and they have concerns and things happen in their day-to-day life, and the township is painted in a way at these meetings that we are unresponsive. And I am frustrated by that because I know how many requests, complaints, issues, things that are brought to our attention that we address in a very expeditious way. Some are easier than others. Some are a little bit more complex. I had a guy call me up the other day, says, "Oh, I have a drainage problem on my road. It's been happening for the last 4 years, but I'm calling you now to complain about it. And, what can be done?" Well, I explained to him that that's not necessarily an easy project, but we're happy to look into it. Come up, take a look at what the issues are. He explained the issues to me. But I think that at times, in particular in these township committee meetings, from my, past experience, even, previous to taking this position was, we would accept what people said. We would look into it, get your contact information after, certainly, go through that process to try to address your concerns. As it relates to the paper mill property, after these residents spoke at the next meeting, the very next day I went to the code enforcement officer, said, go out, take a look at the site, what's happening, speak to the people out there, make sure that we're following the rules of the construction ordinance. I had not heard anything further from that. I did not see an SDL complaint. I did not hear from the engineering department. I did not hear from the code enforcement officer, did not hear from the paper mill playhouse. I did not hear from anyone else regarding the concerns or the matters that were taking place at the paper mill. Because if we had there been, we would have been out there. And so I don't know who you talked to, and I'm happy to speak to you after the meeting, and I'm happy to, take that information. I'm happy to come out there tomorrow as well and take a look at what occurred. But there are, I just want to be clear that, and there's been a lot of things brought up about pedestrian safety. I don't think that you know, I mean, I think we're, again, saying things are getting worse. I don't know that, for sure. I mean, I know that from 2021 to 2023, pedestrian crashes have been down, right? That data is on the township's website. That data is provided by the Pedestrian Safety Advisory Board. Whether we've had an influx of incidents, perhaps, right? And some of those have been, again, the crosswalk incident on Lackawanna, right? Where we installed a pedestrian lead interval, like all the other intersections in the downtown, to create additional safety. Does that mean it's never gonna happen? No, but, certainly it's something that we need to, hear, understand, address if we can. It is a little bit frustrating because I feel like in these meetings, it's very much portrayed that we are unresponsive or that we are not doing anything. And I can tell you that we are, that the staff works hard, that we do a lot with what we have and we respond. And so that's all I'll say about that. But certainly as it relates to Brookside Drive, we will have somebody out there first thing in the morning. We'll all be out there. We'll come out and take a look and see what's happening. We do have a flood mitigation meeting at 8:30 in the morning, but perhaps after that or before that. As it relates to Damio Place, it is a private road. Private roads have always had the responsibility to pave their own streets. They own the road, and so they have the responsibility for paving their streets. These individuals have been in contact. It's been explained to them. There's actually an agreement, I believe, from the 60s with that particular street for them to have the for them to have that responsibility. And so certainly if they want to reach out to me directly, they can do that. I can have that discussion with them. I can help them understand the process, what that means, how the township may be able to help, given a paving contractor that we are hired, and maybe they can do something with that same paving contractor, but it's not the township's responsibility to pay for the paving of the road.
Just a question on that, if they don't want to do it, we can't force them, is that correct?
Correct, it's private property.
So we don't even know for a fact that they want it.
I'm guessing they do. It is in bad shape. I agree.
They may not want to pay for it, but they may not
Correct.
want to pay for it.
And so there are other conversations that can be had, but I haven't been contacted.
And Alex, I don't want you to feel like we're impugning or besmirching you or anything from that. What you do is so great for our town. I send people left and right to you. Sometimes I give them your cell phone number and you always answer and you always do and go over and beyond what you have to do, from a guy who has a tree limb fall off the New Jersey Transit tracks onto their car, to a pothole, to a drainage, to whatever. And I tell you, there's no harder working person in this town than Alex and his staff and our police and our fire. Once a month, I go to this committee for affordable housing. There's about 25 mayors and committee people from all over New Jersey. And you hear some of the horror stories, and I'm always relieved that we have the best people in the state working on our issues. So we appreciate it. Thank you.
No, I appreciate that, Committeeman Stoller. I just want to make sure that that here we want to take in your concerns and be able to address them. And so if there is something that you want to contact the township about, happy to talk after the meeting, happy to discuss that, and what it is. But also sometimes, like, just understanding that there may not be things that we can do immediately or quickly or easily, but that we will certainly hear you out and what can be done. Enforcement keeps coming up. We did hire a part-time code enforcement officer who actually, happened to be upon that pedestrian crash on Lackawanna, helped secure the site, helped make sure things were safe prior to first responders getting there. But they're out there and they are looking at the issues of the town. It also, I've said this before, it also helps when people let us know what it might be, and so that we can go out and look at that. Just one other thing, as it relates to the banner, the 250th committee is discussing making additional, you know, getting more patriotic things, whether it's flags, banners, copies of these banners, something that we can put out to the public so that we can sort of, you know, paint the town, so to speak, when it comes to 2026. So be on the lookout for that as we continue to meet with the 250th committee.
You're
And
not allowed to park on the grass. Right?
No.
You're not allowed to
no,
park.
but I mean, certainly people will on occasion, but if it is a consistent thing, like, you know, again, that can be brought to our attention. Sometimes people make their own driveway too. And they decide that, well, I parked on the grass long enough, I'll put some stone there and then I'll widen my driveway. You know, if that does occur, then, you know, we can.
Yeah, that might be me. During that downpour, there was, that water was rushing across Glenwood. And the guy asked me if I park on the grass versus the 3 or 4 feet of water that was in his driveway. I said, sure. So that might be on me. I took executive power on that.
The Township Committee will now consider consent agenda resolutions. Are there any comments from the committee in regard to any items listed on the consent agenda? May I have a motion to approve resolution 25-226 through 25-231, which are listed on the consent agenda? May I have a second?
Second.
Roll call vote, please.
Deputy Mayor Collin,
Yes.
Mr. Cosgrove,
Yes.
Mr. Sakamandy,
Yes.
Mr. Stoller,
Burn.
Mayor Romano.
Yes.
I'm sorry, Clerk, may I please make a comment regarding the consent agenda items? The resolution for the DNL paving for the curb cuts just needs a title change. It currently has Mohawk Road, so that's all.
The resolution.
Correct.
Okay. Where are we? Committeeman Stoller, you are scheduled to sponsor ordinance 2718-25.
Yeah, talking about relevancy, right? I'd like to present an ordinance entitled ordinance number 2718-25, an ordinance to amend and supplement the revised general ordinances of the Township of Milburn, chapter XXI, abandoned properties, article 21-1.2, inventory of abandoned property, registration of property owner. The purpose of this ordinance is to amend article 21-1.2, which is inventory of abandoned property, specifically subsection H3. Which means it's going to increase registration fees and the renewal of registration fees for abandoned properties. These changes to the registration fee reflect the increased cost to the township to administer these registered properties. Additionally, the increase on the community, particularly those that are renewed several times throughout this process. This ordinance will see initial registration and each subsequent renewal indicated in the ordinance increased threefold. I would have liked it more, but threefold I was told is that what we had to do. It should also be noted that this fee has not been adjusted since 2016. Obviously, we've been in some bit of hyperinflation, so. And the township will also add a section as it relates to the maintenance of listed abandoned properties. I move that this ordinance, are any questions or anything? I move that this ordinance be taken up and passed on first reading, and the township clerk be authorized to have the ordinance published in accordance with law and the item and for hearing and final passage on Tuesday, November 12, 2025. Please be advised that the public hearing of this ordinance will be held at the Milburn Education Center located at 434 Milburn Avenue.
May I have a second?
Second.
Roll call vote, please.
Deputy Mayor Collin,
Definitely yes.
Mr. Cosgrove,
Yes.
Mr. Sakamandy,
Yes.
Mr. Stoller,
Affirmative.
Mayor Romano.
Yes.
Thank you.
Deputy Mayor Cohen, you are scheduled to sponsor 2716-25.
I present for consideration ordinance titled ordinance 2716-25, ordinance amending and supplementing the Township of Milburn Development Regulations and zoning ordinance. Tonight is the time set for the public hearing and final passage as advertised in law. In accordance with law.
I declare the hearing open. Okay.
I move that this public hearing be closed and the ordinance be adopted on final reading, and that the township clerk be directed to publish the ordinance by title as passed on final reading in accordance with law. And just so everybody knows, this was the one on lighting standards. I moved, I need to.
Oh, yeah, there is.
First.
A second, have a second?
Second.
Roll call vote, please.
Deputy Mayor Cohen?
Yeah.
Before we do that, I have a question for Mr.
Oh.
Kyle. So Mr. Kyle, I think I sent you some questions that I received from a resident about this ordinance, and I think you said you indicated in the email that you might be able to address some of them.
Yeah, so, first of all, good evening, members of the governing body, Graham Pedo, receiving township planner. This ordinance, which is pending your final vote, is a product of the zoning code examination subcommittee. I thank, committee member, Sacramento for forwarding a couple of questions that some residents had raised. I think, in consideration of some of the comments and questions, I believe it's related to, non-permitted use within the residential zone and lighting standards to that effect. What I want to stress in this ordinance is that these are not features or standards that will be administratively approved. These are all features that would be part of a board application, part of an application to a board who can adjudicate and allow for deviations or adjustments based on unique features to a proposed use or to a site to address current concerns or comment by a resident to mitigate those factors during the course of an application review for a land use board. I think that the important part of codifying this ordinance before you this evening is presently within the ordinance, there is no standard within residential districts for lighting of mixed use developments or other non-residential developments within residential zones. The ordinance before you, which you're about to consider, establishes those standards irrespective of the location and does it based on type of development or type of building that's proposed, and crafts a series of standards with respect to lighting and also landscaping to ensure that the board at least has some basis to begin adjudicating the review. Presently, there is not. The board is just relying on the applicant to present what they believe are good standards for this. So I think that it's important for us to see how this goes a little bit. And again, land use ordinances are always dynamic. If there is an issue, we can certainly revisit and make adjustments based on it.
Sure, so would it be fair to say that, an applicant came for like the planning board or the zoning board, they would be able to take into account the specific circumstances, and uses, and all the other variables, and these are guidelines that would help them make a decision as to what's should or should not be allowed. And
100%, yes, exactly. And right now, what I'm going to just continue to stress is that the land use boards are operating without those guidelines. So giving them some rules of the road is really going to help that process.
Thank you for that. Good job.
Thank you. Did we get a second? Okay, roll call vote, please.
Deputy Mayor Cohen?
Yes.
Mr. Cosgrove?
Yes.
Mr. Sacramento?
Yes.
Mr. Stoller?
Yeah, thank you, Graham, for that. You work so diligently on all these. We appreciate you as well. Affirmative.
Mayor Romano?
Yes.
Thank you.
Committeeman Cosgrove, you're scheduled to sponsor 2717-25.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I present for consideration an ordinance entitled Ordinance 2717-25. It's an ordinance amending and supplementing the Township of Milburn Development Regulations and Zoning Ordinance. This deals with two aspects. One is placement of air conditioning units, condenser units outside, and accessory uses in residential areas. Tonight is the time set for the public hearing and final passage as advertised in accordance with law.
I declare the hearing open.
Somebody here has a question? Hi, Diana Go. Can you explain what those other accessory uses are? Did you hear me?
Explain what the other accessory.
Yeah, you said and other.
Accessory dwelling units in residential districts.
Okay, like somebody wanted to put like a grandpa house in their backyard or something?
Yeah, we're the thing on Amazon, where 15 grand to get a house put in your backyard.
Oh, that's a deal.
Really?
Okay, thanks.
I think that's.
Anyone would like?
No hands.
Can I just ask a question? I'm not trying to critique it. I had a question, so I apologize for not being fully well read on this. You're not going to remove like the fact that people have to cover their air conditioning units with greenery of sorts, right? No, I'm just asking, because it's a new.
Mr. Petto?
I wanted to make sure that that wasn't gonna happen, and you're not allowing people to attach their new units this side of their house, right? It's gonna be, okay, I just wanted to understand that. It's going to be for the benefit of people not making it worse.
Yeah, so essentially, again, Graham Petto here as township planner, this is another ordinance that is a product of the zoning code examination subcommittee. Presently within 609.1 accessory uses in residential districts, subsection D, it's just a lengthy paragraph that explains how air conditioning units are to be considered and treated as accessory structures. We're mostly looking at a restructuring of this section, so it's a little bit clearer and more enforceable for the administrative office and the zoning officer to adjudicate, application review. To address Ms. Beth's question, there is now a clarified subsection called yard and screening requirements. Side yard screening units located in side yards must be fully screened from view from the street and adjoining properties by solid fence or dense evergreen planting at least 6 feet in height. So that screening requirement still remains within the ordinance. It's clarified though in a little bit more robust
More
language.
detail. And what about, are you allowing rooftop air conditioning? in
We are not,
residential?
no, so it's
Okay.
prohibited locations, that's subsection 1 now of the air conditioning standards is exterior rooftop installation of air conditioning units distributed prohibited.
Thank you.
Thank
you.
Wait, can you explain what into that air conditioner? I don't understand.
Rooftop, like,
Oh, rooftop, okay, not residential.
No.
Oh, okay.
this is, well, this, just
Yeah,
to further clarify, within residential zone districts, rooftop installation of HVAC equipment is not permitted under the proposed ordinance.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Happy to answer.
I move that this public hearing be closed and that the ordinance be adopted on final reading, and that the township clerk be directed to publish the ordinance by title as passed on final reading in accordance with law.
May I have a second?
Second.
Roll call vote, please.
Deputy Mayor Cohen?
Yes.
Mr. Cosgrove?
Yes.
Mr. Sakamandy?
Yes.
Mr. Stoller?
Affirmative.
Mayor Romano?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, old business, Committeeman Stoller, talking about Board of Ed Township Joint Fields.
Thank you, son. The Township of Milburn and the Board of Education have been engaged in productive discussions regarding a collaborative project aimed at enhancing Milburn High School sports programs, club sports, and school-related activities. For almost 2 years, Chris Heinrichs, current president of the BOE, and I have been actively meeting with all BOE representatives, BOE staff, township personnel to thoroughly review and build upon the feasibility study on high school playing fields that was completed by the BOE last year. We recently brought a few new folks into the conversation, including Michael Cohn, Noel Bigman, to address any final details, ensure we have complete buy-in, and to help where we may have missed something, and make sure it's a nonpartisan event. Through these ongoing conversations, we have worked closely with the BOE to refine a proposal that holds strong potential to address persistent challenges related to field availability, scheduling constraints, and overall usage, while maintaining a measured and deliberate approach to ensure feasibility and sustainability and financial constraints. This would be a true partnership with both entities deriving clear benefits and sharing responsibilities for the field's improvements. As we continue our internal deliberations on key aspects such as usage protocols, maintenance responsibilities, and procurement processes, our commitment remains steadfast to fully vet all elements of the project, address any initial questions comprehensively, and proceed with complete transparency to foster trust, and get informed community input. We anticipate presenting this initiative to the public for formal discussion and informational sessions well in advance of any official decisions. Although a precise timeline is not yet finalized, we aim to initiate these public engagements towards the end of 2025 or in the early months of 2026. We believe it is essential to keep our residents informed of this collaborative effort, which represents a thoughtful step forward in resolving this longstanding and multifaceted challenge. The entire community's feedback will be invaluable as we progress, and we encourage questions or comments in the interim. I'd also like to note in the audience, we have Greg Berman and we have Scott Redler was here as well, who's very, very instrumental in putting in the fields next to the library, and they've been involved with great community input. This crosses all community, the entire community, and it's for our kids and giving them fields that rival some of our neighbors and increases the playership. Any questions?
Yeah, is there, obviously we want to get all the public input. Is there any way we could start to schedule those public information sessions prior to the end of the year? I think
100%, they're gonna be done within relative short period of time. And, as we get this out here now, we're at a point that we're comfortable. Can Chris speak or no? We haven't opened it up to other folks or no?
No,
There's
we're
a
starting
second
with
public comment.
Okay, so, we've worked tirelessly to bring this to this event with the support of all the constituents. This is not about any party, anything about this. This is about how do we perform and deliver state-of-the-art playing fields for our children.
I look forward to seeing it. Or, so we have a consensus? Right,
Yeah, absolutely.
excellent. Okay, new business, Mr. McDonald.
Yes, as is sort of tradition this time of year, we have several modifications, changes to the chapter 7 code of the Township's general code, which is traffic and parking. I outlined those proposed changes to the Township Committee in a memo. Essentially, they are restricting parking along Old Short Hills Road in front of the middle school during certain hours. I believe it's 7 to 4. There's been an ongoing issue with parking to drop off at that location and people cutting across the Old Short Hills Road to get to the middle school directly instead of being further up where the crossing guards and police are generally located. Codifying the deli parking lot 12 change to 15-minute parking. This was implemented to create additional turnover and keep some of the Uber and DoorDash drivers from sitting in the parking lot and idling and taking up those spaces. Stop signs on West and South Terrace to be codified. Also a physical stop sign on South Terrace and Hobart to be codified. And then we're evaluating the change at the bottom of South of Cypress and Norwood, where it is dangerous and a challenge to take a left-hand turn during certain hours in the afternoon. So we are looking to add that to that no left-hand turn during certain hours. I think it's 4 to 6 during weekdays at that location, at those locations. So we are just an aside. We are also looking to install some additional signage regarding the railroad trestles on Cypress and Ridgewood. Because people are using those streets, they're getting up to a certain point and realizing that they are too high to get past. So a lot of turnarounds have been taking place at the Ridgewood Road train trestle. So advanced signage at the beginning of Ridgewood Road at Vauxhall and the beginning of Cypress Street at Milburn Avenue. That is what we're looking for in Chapter 7 update.
Okay. So we're good with that, right? Consensus. Okay. Deputy Mayor Cohen. Do you have proposed construction regulations?
This was brought to me by there was an issue, a complaint regarding construction. I think it gave us the opportunity to evaluate sort of the construction ordinance kind of plays into what is some of the stuff that's been discussed tonight. So one of the requirements in the ordinance is that a fence is put up if a soil Hudson Essex permit is acquired. Obviously that doesn't catch everything. Quite honestly, might not even catch an entire demolition of a home. So we just need to be able to have some additional leverage to require fences to go up. A lot of times the contractors will work with us if we go out and say, ask if they need a fence or if they, or they're already put a fence up for safety. But this would establish a additional requirement that if 50% or more of the home or property is demolished, it requires a fence. to be surrounded with the same requirements of the sheathing and things like that. Additionally, there's been some discussion and, you know, I think one of the difficulties in this construction ordinance is the part about days and times and who has the ability to work on holidays and Sundays. And that is, you know, in a lot of cases, particularly with a developer developing a property, usually they are the purchaser and owner of that property, so they are exempted in this ordinance and can work on Sundays and can work on holidays. So either one of two routes taking place with this ordinance would be to eliminate the exemptions or just eliminate construction altogether on, you know, Sundays and holidays. So I think too often, you know, especially in this community where there are a lot of tear downs and rebuilds, that it's usually a developer purchasing the property, so they're the owner, so technically they're exempted from the ordinance, and they can work, not necessarily use heavy equipment or heavy machinery, but work on Sundays and holidays. So just making an adjustment there so that I think it's a little bit more quality of life ordinance changes for the resident.
I don't think that was the intent of allowing that was not, I know they are the legal owner, but that was clearly not the intent. when that
Correct.
Was put in.
But it is a loophole.
Right, so it needs to be closed.
Okay.
I mean, look, I do think that, you know, someone that has a single family home and they're out there on Sunday, you know, replacing a shutter or something, they're not a developer, that's one thing, and that should be allowed. But, you know, major construction, you know, should not be allowed on Sunday.
Yeah, I think we can nuance the ordinance.
Figure out how to word that, but I'm sure.
And additionally, listen, I'm all about less regulations to improve the town if needed, but this, you know, you need the balance between regulation and quiet enjoyment of our properties. Just because somebody's skirting something because they're an owner, you know, we should fill that gap.
Another interesting one that has come up is landscaping. So sometimes landscaping will take place on Sundays. Landscaping is not considered heavy machinery. Under the ordinance, so therefore a landscaping company can do work on a property. Again, I think some of these changes, however we nuance this language for that, can help eliminate that as well.
That makes sense. I mean, I've never seen my landscaper ever. So.
Yeah, I mean, some landscaping requires heavy equipment, especially if there's no pre-existing landscaping or you're ripping stuff out. I imagine that would be disruptive and maybe we don't allow that on Sunday, but you know, normal maintenance of property, landscaping, trimming, et cetera, that should be allowed. So we'll just have to.
But mowers but again, this isn't dealing with private property owners or the owners of the home, but a landscaping truck coming in with, you know, large mowers, things like that. Again, I don't know if it's a widespread issue or if this is just something.
I've only seen it when there's been like heavy rain Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, and they get backed up, so they work on Sunday. Cause I'm sure they don't wanna be working on Sunday either, but I think we need to take a look at it and figure out what we wanna do.
Okay, property design regulations, Mr. Graham. I mean, Mr. Petto.
Bridges.
Did you skip the bridges?
Skip the railroad bridge.
Oh.
Mr. Cosmo.
What?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay. So I have to recuse myself because we're talking about transit bridges.
I can think of so many jokes right now. But I'm just
That's right, though.
So on item 3, designation of railroad bridges, there's 10 bridges in town. The HPC did have, a hearing or a couple hearings over time on this. The proposition is to have the town's expert do a study to determine whether or not the bridges can be, should be, et cetera, designated. The price tag attached says about $30,000. Procedurally, HPC is going to have someone here at the next meeting to talk about, what they want to do, and what the plan is. And then ultimately, the township committee here, is gonna have to approve the expenditure of that money, and then ultimately, vote yes or no on designating those.
All right, don't we know what they're gonna do? Is they're just gonna let it fall into disrepair?
Well, no, I think the goal.
I understand, but right now, every one of those bridges seem to be in disrepair.
Right, so by making them historic, when they have to repair them, as they have to repair them, they can't repair them with substandard.
Right, but let's be careful, if we get what we wish for is, they haven't touched them in 50 years, are they now gonna not touch them in another 50 years, or?
No, the bridges, if they're structurally deficient or need to be dealt with and have to be redone, the idea is if they're, designated historic, they would need to replace it sort of in kind or have something that matches.
Right, the aesthetics.
Because what we've seen is, sometimes, you have these bridges that were done in a way they used to do things, and they're nice and they look good. And then they tear them down and they put something really ugly in its place. And I think that has happened far too often throughout the state. And so the idea is, NJ Transit's likely gonna have to pay to replace these. They ought to do it in such a way that looks like it did and fits in with the community.
And it's not just ugly, it's also shoddy,
Right.
So, that also sets some standards about what it is, what kind of materials they can use that will last for a long time.
Right, the expression, they don't build stuff like they used to, I think applies here. We don't want something built cheaply and it's not gonna last. So I'm all for it.
I am too, so I guess we have the.
I support it.
Okay, so we have the
consensus.
Thank you.
But I think you're still gonna hear from Mr. Davis from the HPC next meeting.
So we should call it back.
Thank you.
You said not, we didn't.
Okay.
All right, thank you. Good evening, everyone. Once again, Grant Cook here as Township Planner. This is another forthcoming ordinance from the Zoning Code Examination Subcommittee to further enhance and refine the site design standards within the Township's land DRZ to, as I mentioned earlier, better guide land use applicants in their appearance before their respective land use boards with well-prepared plans submissions. So the proposed ordinance before you for consideration for future introduction establishes site building and public realm design standards for proposed multifamily mixed-use commercial development, anything that requires site plan approval at one of the corresponding land use boards. The ordinance before you establishes site planning and circulation standards, including building placement, pedestrian circulation, vehicular access and parking, how to lay things out, bicycle parking standards, and then also a series of building design standards broadly, including refuse storage requirements and location, parking visibility, service visibility, prohibited materials for use on sites. And then it also establishes specific building design standards based on different building types proposed under the applications as well. Again, in the absence of clear standards right now, applicants are appearing before the board with they think best fits the community. The design standards here provide them some rules of the road in preparing our application. And applicants will come to the boards a little bit more an understanding of what the township is looking for with respect to design, how sites should work, facilitate that development in the township. For the boards to better adjudicate those applications as well. They have some kind of standards to make reference to. Any questions? How do you guys?
Sure, so it's my understanding that there's a number of other towns, I think Summit has design guidelines, I'm sure there's plenty of other towns, so this is not an uncommon thing, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, and this actually, I think, would make things easier for developers that come before these boards, because they would have, you know, a better sense of what the town is looking for. So they're not just, you know, shooting blindly in the dark.
100%, yes.
So this should actually help streamline those processes.
Yes, that's great.
It would also save them time and money in the long run, because if they present something and it is not something that would get through those boards, then they have to go back and review. So in the long run, it will be, you know, improve their chances of being approved by the board. So it's a good thing.
Yeah, and that's one of the key recommendations of the master plan that I cite in one of the whereas clauses. The master plan recommends that the township, you know, go through its land development ordinance to promote clear, user-friendly, and transparent application review and public hearing processes for development. So this is a key step in that process to provide that transparency up front, so developers and applicants know that process.
All right, well, some of us love transparency, so can't wait to see it.
Good.
Good?
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So to be clear, we're gonna
Yes.
move that along. Great.
Okay, public comment. This public comment period is to allow for final comments from the community. When invited to speak to offer your comments, please come to the lectern and clearly state your name and whether you are a Millburn resident and your property business owner. Please do not provide your full address, seeing our meetings are recorded and readily available to the public. A reminder that in order to help facilitate an orderly meeting and to permit all to be heard, speakers shall limit their comments to 1 3-minute session.
Charles Benvara, 30-year resident of Short Hills. Alex, if I might ask, when you're revisiting the traffic regulations, I spoke 2 meetings ago about the handicap parking situation in town. And I asked that you visit that in your study. In particular, the parking lot, I don't know the lot number behind Schoolhouse Plaza. As one example, there are 2 handicapped parkings. They are immediately adjacent to Taylor Street, furthest away from Melbourne Avenue. If somebody was going to park there that was handicapped, they'd want to be closest to Melbourne Avenue, not furthest away. So things like that need to be looked at and made right. So if you can revisit that, I appreciate it. Second item I'd like to talk about. Several meetings ago, it was discussed. I know I've had discussions with committee members separately. Stormwater detention for new construction, new large-scale construction. There was talk of doubling the stormwater detention. I've heard a lot tonight about building ordinances and guidance for planning and land use boards. I hope we include doubling of the stormwater detention. You know, we don't want a situation to quote Joni Mitchell where we pave paradise and put a parking lot. Yeah, should be pervious paving, and there should be copious stormwater detention. The last thing we need when we're trying to deal, I'm a member of the flood mitigation committee as well. The last thing we need is to be dealing with more runoff, the situations we have in town. So with this new construction, the developer and builder needs to step up and do their share and detain more water on site. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sorrel Reed. I'm just, thank you. I feel like you're insulted maybe that we didn't contact you directly. Or maybe we didn't know who to contact exactly.
No, not at all.
But we didn't know who to contact exactly. If you're coming out tomorrow, which is great, you just should know that a lot of things already transpired. And we have a lot of film that we've taken. And actually legally, I checked, we can take film from our porch. Or as long as it's public, we can take a picture. So you won't see and you won't hear probably from the engineer and from the director of the theater. You'll hear a different story, I think. I'm guessing. But we have a lot of film. And I will say the other day I was sitting on my porch and I was filming a big flatbed truck that was right across the street. And he had a big, I don't know if you call it a caterpillar or what you call it. And he was removing it off his flatbed up closer to the theater. And he saw me filming, and when he came back to get into his truck, he decided to give me double fingers. And then he took his phone out, I won't do the thing, but he came and he took his phone out and he went like this, and I don't know what he said, because I'm glad I didn't. But someone else on the site went over to him, there weren't many people there, but someone else saw him doing this with the thing, and he said, "What are you doing?" And I didn't report it, because I'm alone, I don't really want repercussions and complaining. And so I got a message from the director saying, "I heard there was an incident with a neighbor. Are you the one?" And I'm very naive about it. I said, "Oh, yes, I was filming." And, I told him this story. But then and then he said to me, "Well, I talked to the contractor in charge, and and he's gonna be banned from deliveries, and blah, blah." And I was talking to my daughter, who's a little more savvy than me. She said, "No, he didn't." Well, I can't say if he did or not, but there's a lot of things that you won't know went on. I'm just telling you.
Okay.
And you'll see things and they'll be like, "Oh, it's fine," Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm not saying you're not responsive, but you don't know these things.
Is someone else coming up?
Scott Redler, Milburn resident. First of all, I want to thank all of you for your service. You guys put a lot of time and effort, and it is appreciated. It can be complicated. There's a lot of personalities in the town, and some people go about things the right way, and you guys, I think, hold your own very well. I will say that, going over the fields real quickly for the high school, I was very instrumental in helping get the library field done. When I was on the rec commission in 2017, I talked to them about the deficit of fields, that the library field was called like the mud bowl, the dust patch. And, we all know him, Chris Drucker goes, "Chris Drucker's been trying to get fields since 2010. I'm like, well, now it's 2017 and we still don't have fields. They're like, "Well, we're gonna get West Orange, we're gonna get this, we're gonna get that." I said, "Well, how about the library field? It's a Milburn field. We can control what we do there. We can get turf fields there." And like, "Well, what about who's gonna get the time from the rec commission or Board of Ed? Who's gonna get it? Who's gonna contribute?" I'm like, "Doesn't matter. It's our kids, and we need fields. We need respectable fields so they can hold their head high and they can play and not get hurt, not get twisted ankles, not be rained out." And P.S., the town came together, and by 2019, the field was done. It's 6 years later. Everyone uses it. Everyone loves it. So the back of the high school, is muddy. Kids twist their ankles. If it rains, you can't have practice there. My son is in the high school. I've visited 15 different high schools. They have turf fields in the back. They do. Our recreation, our fields are not the same brand. We have a high brand in Milburn Short Hills, and when they come here, sometimes they laugh. Sometimes they have to reschedule and we have to go somewhere else because our fields are unplayable. And I know that there's a lot of things that need to be done in the high school besides the fields, but the fields need to be done. And as we all know, you're here working for the town because you've had kids here. Time's gone by. We all love the town. Just don't keep putting this off, because this could happen in 4 years from now, 6 years from now, 9 years from now. We're gonna have a new town council. We're gonna probably have new turnover on the Board of Ed, and the can's gonna be kicked down the road, just like it was from 2010 to 2017. So now that the feasibility study is done and says we can build the fields, let's just approve it and then figure out how to get funding from the town council, from the Board of Ed. And if there's not enough money from the town council and the Board of Ed, I guarantee you'll get private money that will put their naming on things, just like the football field that got done a decade ago to make the proper facilities for the kids. It's not about Democrats, Republicans, it's about the kids, it's about the schools, and they deserve fields to be proud of.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Chris Heinrichs. I'm a longtime Millburn resident, but I'm probably more here to speak on Fields in my school board president role. So first of all, thank you, Committeeman Stoller. That was a great statement in support of Fields, and it seems like there's broad support across the township committee for this. Maybe I can just mention a few things to help. First off, the project will have to be done during summertime, obviously not to, or to minimize impact on school sports. I think we've missed the window for the summer of 26, unfortunately. So that means it's a summer of 27 project, meaning we have a little bit more time. So although we are in a rush, to Mr. Redworth's point, we want to get this project done as fast as possible, approved, and if it sits on a shelf just waiting to be built, fantastic, so it can't be undone. So that is certainly our intent. I would characterize it as, we did the feasibility, the architects came up with a kind of a quick design. Now that we think we have funding, we think we have support, it's a good chance to revisit and say, is this what we really want, both in terms of the big structure, the number of fields, and the shape, with the intent of expansion for later on. So that's a bigger decision, and then there's all sorts of nuances of fences and walkways. Ben has some great ideas, Alex has some great ideas. So it'll be a combination of, when do we go to the public? Do we need every last detail planned out? Because I know the public questions these things, rightly so, versus, oh, this is the big strokes, we need to plan the X, Y, and Z detail. That way we can get to the public faster and build support for it. So we have a meeting in October to kind of talk through all those things. That's why we couldn't give anyone Sec Monday a more clean answer on the timeline. So if we can get a good plan next month and we can get a public presentation together, November, December seems quite doable. But, you know, I'd rather be super prepared for the public and have a gangbuster presentation if it slips till January. We have the time. So I hope that helps enlighten. But glad to hear there's so much support in the community for this. Thank you.
We felt forward section, 6 points to bring up. This coming up week, we have 2 festivals, religious festivals. One's going on now, Sukkot, Simchat Torah is next Tuesday night. Our Indian community will be selling Dahlia, which is really the fight between darkness and light, good versus evil. As to educating about the Charter Study Commission referendum, last week, Union County posted the difference between local governments that are governed by a charter and local governments that are governed by the Faulkner Act. And they broke out various communities, whether they were boroughs or subject to the Faulkner Act. But that's something I think that we should be doing to educate the public as to the need for that. We're still, as to round 3, there was a hearing in front of Judge Russo, a very short hearing last Tuesday. We're still waiting for him to enter an amended order adding exhibits, and that will trigger, I believe, the appeal being the notice of docketing. As to Oprah, earlier today we heard about the July 26th road closure and supposedly written communications between the county and the township. I made an Oprah request both the county and to the township. Township produced no written documentation. County only produced the email to the VA. Response was not produced. So I don't know. I'm just going by the documents. They don't support what we heard earlier today. Also, I made an Oprah request. If you remember in August, when there was going to be the designation of the paper mill as a historical landmark, the executive director of the paper mill stood up asking for a postponement, saying that he wrote, there was a writing submitted to the township to postpone it. I made an Oprah request. That writing has not yet been produced. So I don't know what happens, because Oprah allows us to keep transparency and accountability. Hopefully next meeting, we will have best practices and inventory responses presentation that's required to be done by the end of October. And finally, what is the status of the SID ordinance subcommittee review? That was created in February. We've been told, you met several times. When will the public be told what the results of that subcommittee are? Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Bill Kirsch, Milburn resident. I'm actually glad Mr. McDonald said what he did tonight. I can understand his frustration because I think, to some extent, we've become a kind of a culture of, has kind of a culture of grievance where people sometimes more interested in complaining than finding solutions. And sometimes they're bringing up things that are rather trivial, not something like the residents on Brookside, something like that, but things that could be better addressed. And often that just sort of puts a shadow of criticism, of negativity, and even distrust against the staff of the town, against the township committee. I think there's room for a lot more positivity, for recognition of the work that is done, instead of implying sometimes that the staff is not doing their job, that someone's lazy, they should be replaced, without even giving any background for that. Real quick story. Earlier this year, I was down by, I think it's lot 5, the kiosk by Dunkin' Donuts, where I go too often. And I noticed that the logo was peeling off where you scan to park. And I love that parking app, and it was gonna be gone pretty soon. So this is one day on a Sunday when I actually remembered when I got home that I wanted to do something about it. I sent a message to the SDO portal on a Sunday. Tuesday, I was back at Dunkin' Donuts, too soon, really. I saw somebody working on the kiosk, and I went over, and he gave me his name. It was the person who answered gave me an answer through the portal they were going to look into. It was the traffic department of the police department. And he was there, and he said, yeah, I'm gonna replace these on all the kiosks. And he was putting up a much better type of more permanent logo. And that's just one example where trying to find a solution, giving the township information they might not have because they can't be everywhere, that I got a response. I got it very quick. And part of the problem may be, as was mentioned, some people don't know how to approach these problems, but I have very good responses through the SDL portal, through emails, and there's much more that can be done than sometimes coming to a meeting and complaining just because you want to get something off your chest. And I think that will keep more of a positivity rather than this negativity that Mr. McDonald had referred to in his comment. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Jim Gilson, Milburn resident. My comment really doesn't have to do with what we've been talking about, but I'm curious as to what kind of liaisons we have with the postal service. As everyone knows, you go to the Milburn post office, and right now it's very difficult for many members of the community to even get into the building. The door is hard to open, doesn't meet ADA requirements. Anybody in a wheelchair would not have access to a facility of that. My question is, how do we liaison with the postal service so that they can come in and fix those facilities so that we can get access for our community? Thank you.
Thank you.
Christine Best, Milburn Township. Wow, I think I'm gonna call myself a complainer, but because I'm gonna be the antithesis of what was said. I actually think that voicing your opinions is really, really important, and actually a bunch of things happened in this meeting tonight that because of my complaining, they actually happened. And so a lot of us complainers spend hours and hours writing documents, using ChatGPT, which some of my friends have helped me with, getting into the 20, 30 age. And so there's so much civic responsibility. If I see somebody building a road incorrectly because I directed a group of engineers, I'm gonna call the town and complain about it. If I see there's no drainage done, I'm gonna complain about it. If there's no design standards and there's builders just recklessly building buildings that don't fit into the culture and the style of this town, I'm gonna complain about it. I'm sorry, and I think it actually is effective. And I'm sorry that, part of your responsibility and your choice to sit up here is to listen to people say great things. I say great things, and I really am very appreciative of all the design standards and the zoning changes that you've made. I think it's amazing. And I thank you greatly, and I'm sorry that I had to come up and bring that up, and I actually did present Summit's design standards, a number of years ago, and I was just so pleased to actually see something being done about it, so I don't think we're bad people. It doesn't mean that I don't respect each and every one of you, because I could not do your job, not right now, so thank you, okay? And I also don't agree with everybody in this room, but there's a lot of things that I agree with a lot of people in this room, okay? Even people that dislike me immensely. But I also want to talk to you guys. I will leave you my number. If you get bullied by any contractor, I will come down and personally sit with you, because it annoys me what goes on, the recklessness, and
Excuse me, Ms. Best.
What? Okay, sorry, thank you. They're not allowed to dry saw stone or asphalt. It's actually not legal. It has to be wet cut. And that's probably why you're getting dust, and they should fully clean off all your houses appropriately with good power washers, not like, you know, that's completely unacceptable. And if I can just give you any kind of guidance, I'm more than happy to help you, because it really bothers me. I had my own bad experiences. Thank you, that's all I have to say.
Thank you.
Wanted Judy Christian, Milburn resident forever. I just want to bring up the post office quickly. Mayor Romano knows that was about a year ago or so, the air conditioning last summer, no air conditioning for them, no heating in the winter. I've recently heard a rumor that the Milburn post office will be closing and only the Short Hills post office will take over. If you could find out if that's true, that is just wrong. That is just wrong. So I don't know if that's true or not, but I would hope that, I know lots is going on with the postal service and but I would hope that one post office must remain, it will be the one in town, in Milburn Township, not in Short Hills. Thank you.
Thank you.
Richie Cyber, the Milburn Township resident. I always like to give praise when praise is due. Alex, I know you're hardworking and do a good job. Jared, I know you're hardworking and do a good job. I know you're all doing a good job. But I did hear today that the Milburn, so we don't own the Milburn post office. The post office owns the post office. And there's been lots of things going on with that post office, stolen mail out of the mailbox in front of it. You're right, you walk in there, the lights are off, one person working there. Do you have any stamps? No. Computer working? No. Is the postmaster here? No. Where's my mail? I don't know. This past week, I had a new American Express card coming. You get an email from the post office saying your credit card is out for delivery. Please confirm when you receive it. I didn't receive it. I waited till Thursday. I called. Where is it? Oh, you didn't get it. American Express, that is. We'll send you a new one. You're not gonna send it by the post office. No, we'll use UPS overnight. Okay. It came perfectly. But I did speak to someone this morning who said to me that the US Postal Service is consolidating offices because they're a bankrupt agency. They can't make money. And they're going to close the Milburn Post Office, and maybe we should buy that before we get affordable housing. Do we have right of first refusal to buy that property? I don't know. It's a silly question. Anyway, I did hear it today from someone who knows.
Thank you.
That's close. Okay.
Thank you. Anyone else? Is there too many ones?
Yeah, Diane Eglo. As Phil said, the SDL portal is a great tool. It is successful. I've had success with it. I just don't know if enough residents know about it. When I was up here before, I was not trying to take credit. I was merely pointing out that things in government take a long time. Except Doge and in Trump too. I know the town is doing so much to address pedestrian safety. It's the distracted drivers going too fast, texting, it's the distracted walkers. And that's really a big part of the problem. And I don't know how you change human behavior. But my real reason for staying was for Miss Jean Pasternak, who revels in reading and posting my open letter of several years ago. Politicians and humans are flexible and entitled and must be able to change their mind. So yes, I did want to run again. I wasn't selected. So I chose to run as an independent, and I proudly got more than 1,000 votes. And it was pretty difficult as an independent without a lot of money and very little backing. But I did it and I was very proud. I did not change my party. I have never changed my party. As some who have run for township committee, and maybe some of you up there have changed your party. I've been a Democrat since I first registered at 18 years old, and I remain a Democrat. Our country's democracy is at a dangerous crossroad. I will always remain affiliated with the Democratic Party, and I will be voting the Democratic line B, because this year B is better. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? I will now close the public comment. Would anyone like to comment? Excuse me. Excuse me. Would anyone like to comment?
I'll comment. I don't know where to start. Let me start with the main one, which is Eglo. Honestly, when you wrote that letter, it actually opened my eyes to a lot of what's going on. So we have to be very careful on what we do. I mean, I wish I had it in front of me. I would read parts of it, but it really talks about grift. It talks about the bidding at the behest of party leaders and of politicians and things along those lines. So to me, the difference is night and day today versus what it was a few years ago. On the other, party be damned. I don't care about Democrats or Republicans. We care about Millburn residents and what the services that we offer them, their children, the education, the safety. Someone used the term brand, the Millburn Short Hills brand. And that's what we need to ensure, not as individual partisans, but as a group that's here to service the community. They've entrusted us, they've voted us in, and those are the decisions. And that might be part of the reason you may or may not have been effective when you were on the township. I don't know, just a wild ass guess. But from that standpoint, I like where we're going. I like everyone on this dais. I think we're doing a good job. And I just want to, my commitment is to everybody sitting out here in this audience, not to some politician sitting in Trenton or Newark or wherever the hell they're sitting, spending our dollars eating lobsters and grift that's coming up through the vendors and the suppliers. And listen, it's never been more obvious to me than when I was sitting with first of all, with Mr. Feld, and the judge says, vote them out. So we did. And then when I sat with this guy, Frank Banish, who's our special master on the housing, and I literally walked with him all of the sites that we were proposing. And over to this guy could not have been nicer, reminding me of my grandfather. Gave me a hug when he left. He understood everything we were discussing. He didn't want children to get, long-term disability from being on the dump. Everything went fine. And then we turn around and he stabbed us in the back and literally lied to the court. Literally lied to the court. And he was not actually put on the stand to answer for his actions. So I digress, but I just wanted to get that out there. Chris, it's been a great pleasure working with you on the fields. Same thing for Greg and Scott. You guys are just fantastic. And we all do it with the blinders on that this is for the children and for the next generation. And to give them the Millburn brand and give them fields that they can play on and not are destroyed by rain. And it actually, when you see it, it actually improves flooding. It creates funnels to put the water where it belongs into a retention basin, which is what Mr. Barbera has been preaching for the last, seems like forever. And what we're working out on the flood mitigation committee. What else do I have? The post office, I mean, hell, the post office should be privatized, in my opinion. It's so dysfunctional, the building's in disrepair. Put an Amazon store there, I don't know, Amazon always seems to get me my package in 30 minutes.
My daughter thanks you.
And then the last piece here I want to talk about is the, what was it? Oh, Miss Pest, you know, every time you come up, I've been on your property, we've walked your site, we've done everything. Listen, that's what gets things done. I always use a term in my business, the squeaky wheel gets the oil. And a lot of people don't understand that. So, you know, it is a benefit to hear a lot of these. And once again, I just voice my appreciation for Alex and for the police chief and his staff and the fire department, for Graham Petto, and for all of the township employees, because they do a yeoman's job serving the brand for the community. So thank you, and that's to the positivity from Mr. Kirsch. Thank you, guys.
Deputy Mayor Cohen?
Yeah, I just want to, you know, echo some of that. I mean, it is clearly the case, certainly we're not saying, you know, don't come here and voice your, you know, your concerns. Of course you should do that. But it is likelier that before you wait for the 2 weeks for the next meeting, you know, put something into that portal. Call somebody at the town to give them a head start to actually have a chance to work on it. And if they did that, by the time the meeting came, it could be solved, or at least you'll have an answer as to why it's not. I know that whenever residents reach out to me and I pass some of that on to Mr. McDonald, it's taken care of. I mean, there was an ongoing gas leak in my neighborhood around the corner from where I live. The resident complained. Alex was there like the next day. Took numerous phone calls. You'd think a gas leak would cause PSE&G to act on it, but maybe not. So it took numerous phone calls and whatnot, and finally they came. And so that's the kind of thing you have to do. They didn't come to the township committee, but that's how you get things solved. And you know, that's something you should do first, I guess, is if you really want to get something solved, that's the place to get it started.
Thank you. Can we have a second, Linda?
So Mr. Bambera, I think we are in the process of updating our ordinances so that we can double the stormwater detention requirements. I think we talked about it. Yeah, so the DEP has to approve that, so, but that's something that we're actively working on and pushing forward. You know, I also want to echo what Mr. Stoller said, the squeaky wheel gets grease. Yes, it would be nice if people came here and sung our praises, but I think people have better things to do with their time. So in general, the people that are gonna come out are gonna have something to say, and it's often gonna be critical, and that's just part of being in government, right? You know, we have to be responsive to residents' needs. And maybe we need to do a better job of publicizing the ways the residents can get in touch. But I've had an uptick of emails, calls, complaints about lack of zoning code enforcement, lack of building code enforcement. I think it is a problem. I intend to look into it further because I didn't get this level of complaints the first year I was up on this dais. So I think something's going on, and I think people should call us out for that. When you see something, say something, and we'll try to make it better. And yes, all of our employees, for the most part, do a great job. Sometimes there's some that don't, and we'll identify those and deal with those. That's all I have to say.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I would just encourage people to keep coming to these meetings, and I like hearing from you. Thank you.
I just wanna add, I don't think anybody's a bigger cheerleader for Mr. McDonald and the staff than I am. Cause I know you work 24/7 and, you know, you respond to residents on Saturdays, on Sundays, and, you know, whenever it need be. I don't think Mr. Kirsch meant not to complain. I think what he meant was, if you have a problem, you know, if there is a problem, you don't need to wait till our next township committee meeting. You could call the main number at town hall, 5647,000, and they'll direct you to whatever department or whoever it is that you need to speak to, or, you know, use the portal. And, the post office, I'm gonna see what I can find out about that tomorrow, but I know they've been having issues for a long time, so. Okay.
Yeah, I just also want to be clear that I was not saying anyone shouldn't complain. Nor should they get up at meetings and let us know what's going on. And nor was I insulted by anything that everybody said from the public. So I just want to make that clear. I think it is beneficial, but certainly I'd love to start on these issues, you know, prior to the meeting, make sure that we can address things that are able to be addressed. And there are certainly larger issues that need to be discussed more holistically from the public, from the township committee, from myself. But again, wasn't insulted in any way by what anybody said.
Do you have anything to add from public comment? No? Anything to add? Do you have anything? Is that everybody? Is that motion to adjourn?